Well, hey, Amanda Roop here again. If you have watched previous videos, I did one on grounding for anxiety and stress relief. And so I'm back again today. I want to talk about a really important topic. It's a buzzword all over social media, and that is self-care. What is self-care? What are some myths about self-care? How do we define it? And then lastly, how do we apply it? So self-care basically is taking it up on yourself to provide care, whether that be mind, body, or soul, to enhance your lifestyle, to enhance your way of living, to enhance your health and wellness. Now, when I think of self-care, I revert back to social media and TikTok and Instagram. And so often what I'm seeing is this lady in a bubble bath, and she's got not just any bathtub, she's got the really fancy freestanding bathtub with the gold claws on the bottom, and she's got her chocolates, and she has candles lit, and she has some spa music and maybe a big glass of red wine. And although I think that is perfectly acceptable for self-care, not all of us have those resources, and that's just not available to the majority of people. And so I think if we really think about it, self-care goes a bit deeper than your aesthetic ideas, bubble baths and facials and massages and things of that nature. So let's dig into what I think self-care encompasses. And again, I want to say, not a licensed therapist, not a doctor, just a human who's struggling just like you are and has had to research and apply a lot of this stuff to enhance my well-being. So for me, I've been really thinking about this. I've been up all night making notes, thinking about how I can explain this to you in the best way I know how. And for me, I feel like there are three branches of self-care that are super important: mind, body, and soul. Now, we can use soul interchangeably with spirit or heart. And then I think, a lot more people can understand what I'm talking about. Let's just go ahead and get into it. First of all, how do we take care of our minds? You live with your brain. As terrifying as that is for most people, I know it has been for me at times, you are solely responsible for your mind. You can go to a therapist, which I'm a total advocate for. I go myself once a week. It's highly beneficial, but that therapist does not live in my head. I carry that around all day long, and so I'm responsible for that. And so how do I practice self-care with my mind? I have some ideas and have some things that I want to talk about that I think can help you. First of all, meditation. Well, to get the elephant in the room, to address the elephant in the room, when I first thought of meditation, I was scared to death. I thought, I'm not Buddha. I'm not sitting on a lotus flower. I'm not completely zenned out and peaceful. How can I meditate? How can I stop these thoughts in my mind? And friends, the answer is that's not what meditation is about. I was blown away when I found out through an online certificate that I took that meditation is more about accepting those thoughts. Think of it like this. You have the big blue sky, and it's always there. Sometimes you don't see it because clouds obscure it. Sometimes you don't see it because it's raining, it's storming, whatever. But nonetheless, that sky is still there. So what meditation does is it frames those thoughts as clouds just passing by in the sky, which is you, your person, your whole person is that sky. So in meditation, we sit quietly and we just let those thoughts come. But instead of trying to push them away or think, oh, I'm meditating, I can't be thinking that, we just let them pass. We don't judge them. We don't feel any type of way about them. We don't react about them. We just let them pass, like clouds in the sky, like cars going down a highway, one after another. So don't sit in meditation and think, oh, my mind has to get clear. Why am I thinking this? Just say, okay, I'm thinking this thought. And just like every other thought that I've had all of my life, it will pass. However, I will remain still and quiet and honor my thoughts for this allotted amount of time. And I really feel like it's not about fighting our thoughts away. It's just about accepting them and choosing to be still. And so I think that's one way we practice self-care with our minds. Number two, I think that music is very powerful for our minds. I'm a musician. I sing. I play piano. I had a therapist tell me one time, well, that's your thing, music. So when you feel stressed out, put on a happy song, sing and dance. And I thought, oh, right, that's really going to help. It just sounds so silly just to put on a song and get in a better mood. But guess what? It really does. And since we're talking about music, it's kind of like a diet for your ears. So although we like certain types of music sometimes is not beneficial for our mental health. I grew up in the 80s. To me, there's nothing like a good Guns N' Roses song, Pantera, Metallica, Megadeth. I listen to it all. I really am a metalhead, okay? But if I'm feeling really anxious or stressed out, that type of music is not going to help me. I have to choose what music I listen to on certain days because it's that powerful and it affects your mood that much. So put on a happy song, put on a peaceful song, sing out loud, dance, jam out in your car, do whatever you need to do. It's an incredible stress relief, and I think it is a very effective way of practicing self-care for our minds. And so journaling is also a really, really good way of practicing self-care for our minds. If you watch the previous video, I talked about a technique called Rage on the Page, which literally was just writing out all of our frustrations, our annoyances, giving ourselves 20 minutes to do that. Journaling is the same, but a little bit different, because journaling you'll want to do primarily at the end of the day. It's a therapist on a piece of paper. It's really a way of just unloading everything that's happened during that day, and also for reflection. So you can look back and see progress or see challenges you've overcome or things that you still need to overcome. Think of it this way, because this is what I do. Sometimes at the end of the day, I feel like up here is a huge garbage can. And man, I have crammed stuff in it all day and it is full. It is full and I have got to dump it out, so I can sleep basically. And so taking a journal, writing all of that stuff down is so beneficial. I am admittedly the world's worst for keeping up with this practice. And in the bed at night, I'm having all these thoughts and I really need to journal, but it's over there. I don't feel like writing, but I promise you that if you do, you'll always be glad that you did. So those three things, meditation, music, and journaling, I think are very beneficial for mental health in terms of self-care. Let's also talk about, I'm not sure this category would go in soul care or mind care, but I'm just going to throw it in right now. Let's talk about mindfulness. We hear that word all the time, much like self-care. It's become a buzzword. But what is mindfulness? Is it meditation? No. I used to think so. I think it's the same thing. It's not. Mindfulness is paying attention to the details of your day. Think about it like this. How many times have you been driving down the road, you get to your destination, you don't even know how you got there. Like in your brain, you have went somewhere so removed from the present moment, you can't even remember driving to your destination. That is the opposite of mindfulness. So what we want to do when we're being mindful is we want to just pull ourselves back into that present moment. For instance, eating. When you eat, try to do it mindfully. What does that food taste like? What does it smell like? What is the texture? Really take some time to be in the present moment and be mindful about the little minor details of your day, and your brain will thank you. When you're driving, try not to drift off into la la land. Oh, it's so easy. I know, because I've done it and I do it. I still do it. But try to look at the cars that you're passing. Look at the trees on the side of the road. Listen to the sounds. Maybe roll the window down and get some fresh air. Listen to your favorite song. Anything that you can do to be in the present moment is going to reduce stress, anxiety, and it's going to be a form of self-care for your mind. Moving on, let's talk about our bodies. Self-care for the body. I think I need to say this first before I go on to any kind of technique or practice. If we want to practice self-care with our bodies, the first thing we have to do is accept our bodies. Now, I'm an Instagram fanatic. I don't really care anything about Facebook, but I can be scrolling on Instagram all day long. And one thing that I'm seeing over and over and over is love, body love, body love, body love. I have to respectfully disagree with the notion that we can constantly love our bodies. I just don't think it's realistic. But I think what we can do is accept our bodies and appreciate our bodies. For me, that is the first vital step in self-care for our bodies, appreciating and respecting our bodies. A good way to do that, a good way that I've done that, I cannot wake up every day and look in the mirror and say, oh, I love my body, it's so perfect, I'm so at peace with the way it looks and the way it feels, because it's not truthful. But what I can do is appreciate what my body does for me. So when I'm in the shower, I start, with my arms, and when I'm doing that, and this is also practicing mindfulness, think about it, I say, okay, arms, maybe I wish you were a bit different. Maybe I wish you didn't have these stretch marks here. But you know what? You have carried so much stuff for me. You have embraced so many people that I love. You're dependable, you're strong, you're always picking things up for me and moving for me. And then the same goes with every other body part. I get to my legs. Wow, thank you, legs. How many miles have you walked? I'm 42. I've walked a lot of miles. So I just keep constantly thinking about what do I appreciate about each body part. And when that shower is over, I have not only practiced mindfulness because I've been in the present moment, washing every single body part, but I have also practiced self-care for my body, appreciating it, showing it that I'm grateful and accepting it for what it is. So I think once you do that, then you can apply some other self-care methods for your body. And of course, we all know exercise, diet, nutrition, good sleep. So I'm not going to really expound on those because we've heard those since we were kids in school. The only thing that I will say about exercise is this. Exercise can be a great form of self-care. But I think that there's a line there that can be crossed to where exercise can be used as punishment. Find movement that you enjoy. Find movement that is not only feels good in your body, but feels good in your mind. Do not punish yourself, try to exceed the limitations of your body, or solely exercise for aesthetic reasons or calorie burning or whatever. Find movement that is good holistically, that you wake up in the morning and you really enjoy doing. For instance, for me, it's walking in a local park here. And so when I'm doing that, I'm practicing self-care for my body, but I can also be very mindful of where I am, the birds, the trees, nature. So it's kind of a dual self-care method. So yeah, exercise is important. Just make sure that you enjoy it. Diet and nutrition, eat food you love, You know, it's common sense. Eat foods you love in moderation. Don't restrict. Don't deny yourself. Don't overindulge. Use common sense, and it always is about balance. Massage is great, you know, if you can afford it. If you can't, do it yourself. I've done it. You know, massage your hand when you're feeling stressed out. Give yourself a little shoulder rub. Massage your own feet. We don't want to do that ourselves, but you know what? Sometimes we have to, and that's what self-care is about, taking care of yourself, because you cannot depend on anyone else to take care of you. You have to take care of you. And when you think about self-care, think about this too. I think that it's foundational for healthcare. It starts with us, right? I mean, a lot of times when we have to go to the doctor or the dentist or psychiatrist, it's because of the neglect of self-care. So it's totally foundational. Some of the myths about self-care: it's selfish, it's indulgent, it's time consuming, it's expensive. Listen, none of those are true. It is never selfish to take care of yourself. It is never indulgent to make sure that you are well. So those are some of the myths, and I've heard those too on social media. So never feel bad. Never feel bad about taking care of yourself. It's always a good thing, and it's not only beneficial to you, but it's beneficial to other people. Taking your medications, that's another body form of self-care. If you need a medication, whether it be for psychiatric reasons or physical reasons, remember to take that medication. Remember to sleep well. That is hard. I'm an insomniac, but I'm just constantly trying things to improve my quality of sleep. Screen time, that's totally hard for me too. I'm the one that has the phone on my bedstand, and I'm checking it, but I know that interferes with my sleep. So to practice self-care, I have to refrain from doing that. I have to make sure the room is comfortable. I have to meditate before I try to go to sleep so my mind is clear. And so those are ways I think that we can incorporate some self-care practices for our bodies. Now, let's talk about the soul. Let's talk about the spirit. Let's talk about the heart, whatever you want to call it. We all know that we are more than a body. We are more than a mind. There's more there. There's an emotional connection. There's a soul connection. We have a spirit inside of us. We know that. So how do we take care of it? For me, the number one thing is gratefulness. I've always heard have an attitude of gratitude. Now look, I am the biggest skeptic that I think that you'll ever meet. So when I hear stuff like that, like maybe 5-6 years ago, I'm like, oh, attitude of gratitude. You know, we always hear this stuff, and that's not going to work. And I've tried it, and it just doesn't work. Look, most of the time we think things are corny or cheesy because we don't practice it. We just automatically think that's not going to work for me. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to try this gratefulness practice. Even if I don't intrinsically feel it, I'm going to try it, and I'm going to see if I can cultivate some appreciation and gratitude in my life, because I want to see, is there benefits to this? And I want to say to you that I don't think any of us are born grateful. I don't think that we just come out of the womb with this great sense of appreciation. I really feel like gratefulness is something we have to practice and we have to cultivate within ourselves. So for me, you know, waking up in the morning and grabbing my journal and writing 3 things that I appreciate, that I'm grateful for. These do not have to be big, grandiose things. It could simply be air conditioner. You know, I live in the South. I live in Kentucky, central Kentucky. Right now, it's super humid. I'm grateful for air conditioner. I'm grateful for a comfortable bed. I'm grateful for a shower. I'm grateful for running water. I mean, just simple things, you know, 3 things. I think everybody can think of 3 things that they're grateful for. And I've seen this somewhere, and I wish that I could cite it. But they say if you do this for 14 days, you really do see a difference in the way that you wake up in the morning and the mood that you're in when you wake up. So try that. Don't knock it till you try it, right? I used to think this sounds too simple. There's no way that this is going to affect me in a positive way, but it really, really does. Always try to remain grateful. The next thing I want to talk about for your soul is solitude. Solitude is a controversial, perhaps, term, because a lot of people want to say, well, it's just loneliness. It's just isolation. But I think solitude is the way to reframe a lie into a truth. Now, listen to that again. You're reframing a lie that your brain tells you into the truth. You can't possibly be lonely. You're never alone. You have the whole universe around you. You're not in isolation. Reframe that as solitude. Solitude is a vehicle for growth and healing. You will never be able to relate to other people, to know their needs and their wants and how they operate until you know yourself. And it's so hard to be self-aware when you're constantly surrounded by people, events, people at work, constant chatter, conversations. So solitude is a great way to reframe loneliness and isolation. Do something with that solitude. I used to say all the time, I'm so lonely. I'm so lonely. I'm by myself all the time. And you know what? Maybe you are, because I was at one time. Use that, call it solitude, work on your meditation practices, work on self-care, work on being more self-aware, and that solitude will grow into something that you actually crave. I heard something the other day that said, if you are alone, and you don't like your company that you're with, work on that. Something like that. I don't know. But solitude will give you a chance to work on liking yourself. How do we grow to like other people? How do we grow into a meaningful relationship with other people? It's by spending time with them. Do not neglect spending time with yourself. I know from experience, at one time I really, really, really did not like myself. I'm still working on that. I cannot say that I completely love myself to this day, but I'm getting a whole lot better at it. But one time I could actually say I hated myself. And so I had to pull myself into some solitude and get to know myself. Why don't I like myself? What are some good things about myself? I had no idea, because I always wanted to be around people to distract me from the fact that I was feeling really crummy about myself. So use solitude to get closer to the real you. The next time you have a thought, an intrusive thought that says, I'm lonely, I feel isolated, shut it down. No, I'm spending time in solitude. I will use this time that I'm alone to get to know myself and work out some things so I can have better relationships with other people. Another way to take care of our spirit, our soul, I feel like, is to be out in nature. It is my favorite thing. I love to hike. I love to walk. I could be outdoors 24/7. Next time you're out and you're walking, try something called a senses walk. And it really pulls in the technique of mindfulness too. So I used to walk really fast for my weight, for calories, for fitness or whatever. By the time I got back to the car, I could not tell you 3 things that I noticed on that walk. I don't do that anymore. I start out walking. I start out breathing. I listen to some calming music. I like to see, what do the trees look like? How many birds do I see? What color are they? Are there any flowers? Are there any squirrels? Is there any running water? It's a great, great way to pull you into the present moment. So you're working on your fitness, but you're also working on your mind and soul as well. I think it's also a great opportunity to pull ourselves out of our problems and just see how big the world is. When you're hiking and you're on top of the mountain, man, you seem really small. And at the same time, you can see how you're connected with this huge universe. So it does a lot for our soul, a lot for our mind. The last one I want to talk about, as far as taking care of our soul, doing self-care for our soul, are affirmations. This is another buzzword. People are throwing it around everywhere on social media. I am not going to lie to you. When I first learned about positive affirmations, I thought, this is a joke. I remember walking at a state park here where I live, and I was in a really, really dark season. I actually had some thoughts of self-harm and just thoughts of, I don't want to be here anymore, just to be completely honest with you. And I thought, what can I do? I'll try anything. When you feel like that, when you're in addiction, when you are depressed, you'll try anything, and some things do seem like really corny, really cheesy. But when you get to that point, you really want to try anything. And so I had remember reading about positive affirmations, and I think it was after 21 days or so, it's supposed to start rewiring your brain. And the science behind that is when your brain hears you vocalize something, it will catch up. It will start believing that, despite how you feel. So I remember starting out, and I put on YouTube positive affirmations, and I was walking through the state park, and I felt like such a fool and such a liar, because here I am saying, I am happy. I am well, everything is working out for me. And really, I felt like the worst of the worst, but I kept doing it. I read the science behind it. I knew it was evidence-based, so I just kept doing it. Some days I felt like the most unattractive person on the face of the earth, and then I have to say, ooh, I am beautiful, I am confident. But after so much time, it started working. My thoughts, I was forcing my thoughts into thinking something positive, into alignment with those positive affirmations, but I wasn't feeling any differently. But like I said, days went on, and days went on, and I started noticing a difference in the way I was feeling. So there again, you really just cannot knock something if you haven't tried it. So try some positive affirmations. Start out small if you have to. Yeah, you're going to feel like a liar when you start. You will. You're going to feel like, I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't even believe it. But give it some time. All of these practices and all of these techniques, give it some time. Your brain will catch up. It will catch up with what you're saying and what you're doing. And so, self-care, create a routine. It doesn't have to be hours and hours a day. Just get into a practice. Maybe you could do one thing every day for your mind, for your body, and for your soul. You can pick some of the things that I've talked about, or you can pick something that feels good to you. Every day you could maybe meditate for 10 minutes, walk for 10 minutes, and then do your gratitude journal. That would cover the mind, body, and soul, and take like 30 minutes a day. So it's worth it. You don't need money. You don't need a ton of resources. I was raised super poor, in what I like to say, the deep, dark hills of Eastern Kentucky. Look, a bathtub with a glass of champagne and some chocolates was a pipe dream. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't call a massage therapist and say, oh, I'm feeling a little stressed, help me out. So we have to become resourceful. When we don't have those resources available to us, or if we're in rehab or in a constrained area and we can't get out and utilize services for self-care, we have to become resourceful. And every one of these that I've given you, you can do just with this and with this. Don't need this. And that's an awesome thing. I want to tell you today that your life matters. Your life matters. It's important. Your life is important. It's just as important as Jason Roops, as Amanda Roops, as the CEO of some big company, of the biggest spiritual teacher on the planet. Your life is just as important. You know, maybe that's an affirmation for you. That's definitely one for me, because sometimes I feel about this big and I have to say, Amanda, your life matters. Your life is important. You are allowed to prioritize your needs and yourself. There's a spiritual teacher by the name of Ram Dass, who I love. If you haven't checked him out, he's passed, but he's got some amazing books and was a very revolutionary spiritual teacher. And one of his quotes is this: I can do nothing better for you than to work on me. And the best thing that you can do for me is to work on you. Because if we are all collectively taking care of ourselves, then we can better take care of each other. It is not self-indulgent. It is not selfish. It is necessary. It's our responsibility to practice self-care, because if we don't, who will? You know? And if we don't, how do we know how to take care of other people? You have purpose, you know, no matter where you are in life today. I mean, the very breath that you are breathing is vital to the universe. And I know that is super hard to wrap our heads around sometimes, but everything matters, everything belongs, and that does not exclude you, no matter where you are. So stay well and stay healthy and stay strong. Practice some self-care. Don't let shame creep in. When shame starts to creep in, kick it to the curb and do some of these self-care practices, okay? Best wishes to you all. I love you guys. I know that I've never met you, and maybe I never will meet the majority of you, but I feel the love. I feel the love through this screen right now, and I'm here for you, and Jason's here for you. We are meditating on your behalf. We are praying on your behalf. We are sending all the good energy and all the good vibes to you, and knowing, not just hoping. We don't hope, we know that you will recover and that you will make a difference in your life and someone else's life. And then that cycle will just continue and continue, you know, because that's how it works. And that's why our lives matter, because what we do affects the next person, and what they do affects the next person. So, all for self-care. If you are able at some point to have a big bougie bath and have you some chocolates and some candles lit, then good for you. But in the meantime, be your own resource. Be your own resource and take care of yourself, okay? And I'll be talking to you again really, really soon. Have an excellent day. Be encouraged. Say those affirmations. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Thank you.